Okay, so in this video we're gonna see how constructor injection and setter injection work, and how the two are different from each other. So for that, I have created a class. I have created a project named demo, and I'm gonna create a class and call it student. And I'm gonna mark this as component, and inside the class let's have two member variables. One is of string type and the name is name, and another is of int type and we name it as age. Okay, so first let's see what constructor injection is. So let's create a constructor for this. Class using the fields. Okay, and we say this is auto wired. Okay, so first I'll explain what I did. So this is a component class. So Spring is going to create bean of this class when the application context is created, and this class has two variables, member variables, name and age, and we have an auto-wired constructor. So basically Spring will try to find beans which is of the type string and try to inject it into this variable, and another bean which is of the type integer and try to inject into this variable. So let's create another class. Say we call this config student. Now this is configuration, and we create bean of string type, say public string name, and say we return a string called test name. Right, now we create another bean and return an int type, name the method as age, and say return 26. So let me explain what I did. So this student class is a component class, and it has constructor which is auto-wired. I mean, which is where we are trying to inject values. So Spring would try to find a bean which is of the type string and inject it into this variable, and another object which is of the type integer and inject into this variable age. And config student is a configuration class where we are creating beans, and one bean is of the type string and the bean name is name, and it returns test name. And we are creating another bean which is of the type integer, and its name is age, and it returns 26. So let's create another class. Call it config, and make this the configuration, and what we're going to do is we're going to wire an object of student, So how do we do that? Where 2 is word private student, say is 1, right? And then we create a bean, say public void test, and we do a print. Okay, and we say injected name is plus s1 dot get name. Okay, so let me first define the getters and setters for the member variables of this class. Alright, so we do an s1 dot get name, and injected age is get age, right? Let's run this. Let's see what happens. Okay, so we get this. Injected name is test name and injected age is 26, right? Now let's do one thing. Let's comment this out. Let's see what happens. It shouldn't run and we should be getting some error. Let's see what happens. Okay, so what is it? Parameter 1 of constructor in home.demo.student required a bean of type int that could not be found. So let me tell you one. When we are doing a constructor injection, both the member variables are mandatory. We don't have any optional field or optional variable. Both the variables are mandatory. So if you want to have, say, age as optional, for that we can do a setter injection. So what we do is, since name is mandatory, we put it here, outward, and age is not mandatory. So if we have age, then we can, if there is an age defined, then I'll show you how to do that. Okay, let me just delete this and run this. So this time it runs and it sets a default value for the age, which is 0, because 0 is the default value for int. Now what if we want to set the age? How do we set it? We can simply do like s1 dot set age 26. If you run this, okay, so this time we get it as 26. So if you want to have a class which we want to specify as a component, so that Spring creates a bean for this class, and we want to have some variables which are not mandatory to be injected, while other variables are mandatory for injection. In that case, we can do a setter injection for the mandatory variables. And if we want to have all the member variables as mandatory, then we can do a constructor injection. So that is basically the difference between constructor injection and setter injection. In setter injection, we can have optional fields or optional member variables for the component class, but for constructor injection, all the member variables should be there, are mandatory.